Hi, welcome. We're super excited to be here. Thanks for having us today. In fact, we got so excited we brought a whole bunch of us here today. The rest of us are at the virtual stand, so maybe you've had a chance to already go. Maybe you still want to go. They're still there for a moment, so make the most of your time. And we are here today to talk about, well, fashion as Zalando, but also the devastating impact and the responsibility of fashion that we have and what we're doing at Zalando in order to address that responsibility and what we do to create a net positive impact for both people and the planet. We'll tell you about Zalando Zircle. That's also the title of this presentation. And some of the things that we're working on that we're actually pretty excited about. All right, first up, it's super nice to meet you, rather e-meet you today in today's circumstances. We are Hannele and Mia, product designers at Zalando, and we work with a super fantastic team called Recommerce. It's part of our emerging business unit, and it's a bit like working in a startup inside of Zalando, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Nice to meet you.
All right. Before diving deep into this topic, I want to just maybe say a little bit about myself before starting. You can maybe, tell I'm not a super fashionista. I do, care about what I wear, but it's not, super, super important to me. It's more utilitarian, really. Outside of work life, I have a small daughter and a garden where I grow my own vegetables. And I have a deep interest in sustainability and circularity, and a really deep desire to leave behind a better future for my family, ultimately. What I learned when I joined Zalando is that there is more people like me in this company. They're not all just geeks and fashionistas, but really normal people like me. I guess we have in common that we wanted to join a company that is trying a little bit harder. And I personally don't like sitting on my hands. I'd like to be part of the solution. So this is where the company kind of matches me and my ambitions. We are actually quite excited about what tech can and we also feel must do in this domain, because we all have heard about the devastating impact that fashion and the fashion industry has on the climate and on the environment. We have a deep-rooted belief that change really does need to come from within. It needs to come from ourselves, but also from the companies that we work from. What we're actually doing at Zalando, we are acutely aware of this impact that the fashion industry has on the environment. And at Zalando, we aim for a net positive impact for both people and planet. That is anchored in our strategy work. But what does this actually mean, in fact? Well, it's really about building tools and services for people that allows them to make ultimately better choices when it comes to fashion. And it really is what we call our founding mindset when we talk about creating and inventing with intent. Now, what does this better choices actually look like? Well, we all know this. I'm certainly guilty of this myself. We have a lot of items in our wardrobe that we have once bought that we thought we were going to be wearing a lot and ended up not wearing much. And there might be multiple reasons for why that is the case. Maybe they don't really fit us anymore. Maybe we didn't really like them that much to start with. Maybe they're not that fashionable anymore. But in any case, some people try to then sell them, some people try to donate, but we're really trying to build services that sort of and sort of helps sort of address the whole sort of life cycle of fashion that we own. And yeah, at Zalando, we started as a startup, and we have grown into quite a considerable force. We have always thought and still do think quite big, and we have set ourselves quite ambitious goals around this particular topic. We are nowadays operating across Europe. We're dealing with large volumes. We are entertaining large audiences on our platform. And with this scale and reach really does come this sort of increased responsibility. And so what are we doing at Zalando to meet these responsibilities? Well, our mission states that we are trying to extend the life of at least 50 million fashion items by the year 2023. we have set ourselves this ambitious goal in order to guide us in this effort to really turn our platform into a sustainable fashion platform with, as I already mentioned, a net positive impact for both people and the planet at the end of the day. Now, we have seen that customer behaviors are really shifting. I can see that we have this slide twice. So there we go, there it is. And we can see the customer behaviors are really changing. And we have some examples here from the BBC and from Vogue, where we can really tell that pre-owned and fashion in general and the responsibility of fashion really has become a topic. What we can see is that more and more people actually buy pre-owned, so pre-loved fashion, or also known as secondhand, and there really truly has grown demand from our customers. And really pre-owned is becoming the new normal, which we think is absolutely fantastic. And this whole sort of concept of circularity has finally arrived in the domain of fashion. Now, it might be worth it to just talk a little bit about sort of what's actually meant by this circularity in this particular context. And circularity in the fashion industry actually does describe a sort of economic system where we're trying to minimize waste and make the most of the resources that we actually have available. And this is in stark contrast to the more traditional linear fashion system, where we have this sort of make, take, and dispose way of production. Now, in order to make the system more circular, we can, redesign, we can make better use of the resources, as we said, we can repair, we can reuse, we can resell, and we can recycle. There are multiple ways in which we can make fashion more circular in that way. And at Zalando, we talked about that we are building these tools and services for our customers to ultimately make better choices around their fashion behavior. And so I would like to introduce to you what we mean by Zircle, which what this presentation really is all about. So Zircle describes both what we're doing in the sort of buying as well as selling end of the fashion life cycle. In Zalando, we have introduced a category that's called pre-owned. So really it's second-hand, pre-loved items. So you can sort of buy second-hand clothes from Zalando, and then also with the help of Zircle and other services, keep them in circulation. So hence, sell them again instead of actually just disposing or discarding of them, which is what we would do in the linear fashion system. Zircle in itself was launched as a standalone app in Germany in 2018 and has since then been scaled quite significantly. And when we introduced pre-owned as a category, we made this buying part of secondhand pre-owned fashion easier and possible at Zalando. But how about that second part, that selling part of the picture actually? Well, this is where our new service comes in, and this is what we call when we talk about trade-in. And this is the part that I would actually like for Hannele to introduce to you.
So hello, my name is Hannele Piirainen. I'm principal product designer. We actually have a lot in common with Maria, as I also have a little daughter and I love gardening. It's something that I have just recently started doing. I'm also a huge pre-owned and vintage fan. I like the thrill of the surprise that is associated with it. For me, it's like treasure hunting, which is something that I used to love as a child. So what is this trade-in? Have you ever tried selling your clothes online? Those of you who have tried, you probably know that it can be a lot of work. First, to begin with, you need to wait for somebody to get interested in your item. Then there's typically some back and forth messaging involved. Maybe the buyer is asking you to enter more details, give measurements, enter more photos, etc., etc. Then you need to figure out the shipping costs and so on. Maybe there's some bidding or bargaining included. We know this. I have experienced this myself. That this can be this can take a lot of time, and it can be really laborious. So we started thinking that what could we do differently? What could we do to make it easier? How might we create a service which gives you better control, transparency, and reduces the hassle in this process? We created this service where you can sell your items to Zalando. The way it works is that you add a few details of your items, a photo, brand, and a category, after which we already can show you the value, credit value per item. You can choose whether you get the credit as a Zalando gift card or as a donation for a good cause, and we make the donation for you. Here are some of the design artifacts that we made during the journey. We, for example, used a lot of prototyping to learn how the interactions work and so on. Turns out people love this. There's no unnecessary waiting and minimal hassle. The user feedback has been very good. This is something new. Here is a video about it. So how did we do all this? Creating services is like a team sport. It requires collaboration from many disciplines, business, technology, and design. That is so only roughly speaking. We know that the reality is even more complex. We have included here some of the roles of the people who were involved. Engineering lead, analysts, developers, marketing people, and so on. I enjoy working with a diverse team like this. For example, one thing that I particularly liked was working with professional copywriters. That's something that you don't get to have in all projects, so I really enjoyed it a lot. We had these discussions about how do you call this service and how do you name things in a different country that it's locally relevant and describes the service. For example, in Spain, pre-owned is segunda mano, and here in Finland, trade-in box is called vaihtolaatikko. Then with collaborating with the business, we figured out what are the delivery options, what are the charity options for each of these countries, etc., etc. Our team was located in 3 different locations, Helsinki, Berlin, and Dublin. Remote setup like this is a challenge in itself, and especially during the times of the pandemic. So it's really worth investing time to figure out how do you collaborate, how do you communicate. The way we see technology is that it's an enabler, not the starting point. As a starting point, the most important part is to understand the problem we're trying to solve. Or if framing it differently, understand the need or opportunity that there is. To get started, you need fresh insights about the markets and the customers. What is happening? What are the pain points they have? If you create a complex solution, maybe you have not understood the problem. Then we need to think also that what the end will look like. What do we want to achieve? Define what you want to achieve, and this acts as a guidepost for the development. This might sound really obvious, but it's not. If there is no common vision about the end state, everyone will form their own idea about what should be built. In all this, learning is crucial. As Maria mentioned earlier, we didn't build this on this scale from scratch either. We started by launching an app first and learning and iterating based on the experiences from the app. So what's a designer's role in all this? We designers and actually other people working to create new software often find ourselves being the catalysts for the change. One could say that we are kind of a change agents. Our work introduces some kind of a change to this world. Be mindful about the change you are bringing to the world, especially because we have found out that we, designers and developers, we have superpowers. We have a capability of creating something. We can grasp these abstract ideas and put them into tangible format, which in turn makes them shareable and better understandable for larger groups of people and allows us to work on those ideas. Superpowers come also with the responsibility. Again, be mindful about the change you bring. Change should be always intentional.
Right. There are other takeaways as well, and one of the things that for us we wanted to highlight today as well is what it says here, believing in what you do. And Hannele already described that we have this philosophy of what we call working backwards. So we typically go about creating a vision. We actually think about what it is that we want to build, the kind of change that we want to bring about, and then we think about, okay, how might we actually achieve this? And this is where everybody then starts pitching in. But that really helps to kind of like rally around or behind a sort of common cause and behind a vision that you can actually defend whenever you need to. And it really sort of helps the team to come together. Again, it might be something, you know, sort of obvious, but for us, it's kind of really the starting point. And then the second thing that I want to really highlight here as well, and this is our last key takeaway for today, is about getting comfortable with this continuous change. As we have seen, this industry is changing. You know, our company has been changing a lot. And for all of us as individuals, a lot of things have actually changed in the last year in the way we work. And, you know, getting comfortable with continuous change, really sort of embracing it, but also sort of seeing the opportunities within is something that is really going to serve us well, I believe, going forward. So we're super happy to announce that pre-owned and trade-in that we have introduced are live in Finland. So go ahead and try it out. And do send us your feedback as well. We want to hear how you're enjoying the service. We have put together a couple more information for you, and we're super happy again to have been here today. Thank you for having us. And please do feel free to reach out with any feedback or questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you.